mamas? Thank you so much for being here with us. Today we're with Deborah Porter. She's a mom coach and a mentor, and we're going to be talking about how to encourage moms to give themselves some grace and learn to gain some confidence. I'm going to give you an example from my own life because it is something that I'm dealing with right now. I have an almost 2-year-old son. We had a baby about a month ago. And of course, the newborn baby kind of takes up so much of your time, and your other baby, because he is still a baby, is like, what is happening? And what is my mom doing? Why isn't she spending all her time like with me like she used to? So that is where my mom guilt has come into effect in this past month is, oh my gosh, my poor little almost 2-year-old that I'm not spending as much time with. Is it going to affect him for the rest of his life? What advice would you have for me in that scenario?
Oh, I was there. I remember this like it was yesterday. And you notice how big your 2-year-old looks the day you come home? It's like, my baby's so big. But I remember when I was pregnant with my third, my second child, when I told them, we announced, mommy's going to have a baby and you're going to be a big brother. These were his 2 questions. Who's his mother and where's he going to live? And I just thought, this is not going to be good.
This is going to be rough.
I just thought, he's ours. So I get exactly where you are. And here's what, we really tried to do from the moment, they came to the hospital to see their baby brother, was just to involve them as much as possible. Right. So, if I'm sitting there nursing, can you get me the diaper? Do you want to burp your brother? Like just trying to let them understand that all of us are here to help take care of this baby, just like we did you. And I would oftentimes take out baby pictures from when they were little, just to show them we did the exact same thing with you. Right. So they're, because they don't know that, they just see what we're doing with the new baby. So, just having those touch points, I would oftentimes at nap time for the baby or put the baby down earlier for bed and let the big brother stay up a couple more minutes. I mean, he thought it was an hour. I think maybe we gave him 15 extra minutes, but just those little things, those little touch points to let him know still how important he was and, how much we still needed him, in helping with his baby brother. But it's real. It's real. And here's what I would tell you. Give yourself some grace. Don't let that be the leading emotion. When he's 15, this is not the thing he's going to bring up. He is not going to bring up, we had another baby and I felt it's not going to happen. It's not going to be the thing he remembers. So, find those moments that you can still have those touch points with him, those individual, every now and then my husband and I would swap. And so I would, take, the big brother and he would stay with the baby. So just to, keep those connections alive. But I guarantee you, you're doing an amazing job. Just because you asked that question, I know you're doing an amazing job.
You're sweet. Thank you. We'll find other ways to scar him for life, but it's not.
There you go.
This.
There you go. I told
We're going to bring up other stories.
Exactly. I told my oldest, I was like, look, you were the experiment. If you end up on a psychiatrist's couch, please blame me. It's completely okay. We didn't know what we were doing when you came along. So,
hey, and I've heard that from every single parent. Just like, listen, we are doing our best. So blame us for whatever you want. But we tried.
And that I think that is the thing, and that's not what we tell ourselves enough. We really are doing our best. We each come from our own story of what that. All of us didn't have super maternal moms. All of us didn't have, the thing that we want to be for our kid. Many of us don't come from that and don't have that as the example. And so we're doing the best we can, which is why I love the idea of, I like to say with Mom's Mentoring Circle, which is where my moms gather and meet, that mothering doesn't have to happen alone. You should not be on a motherhood journey by yourself. Because if you can be isolated, then you have a lot of time to second guess everything that you're doing. There is a way to trust your own maternal instinct. There is a way to kind of touch that and tap into that and understand, what that maternal instinct does and why it's there. It's a real thing. It's as real as mom guilt. So there's a way to do that. It's just very difficult to do that alone. And so you've got to find that group of moms that you can be vulnerable with, that are willing to be open and vulnerable as well, and that you can share openly, and that women are willing to share not only their successes, but their failures, because all of that helps all of us in community.
I agree. It's so healing to have friends and sisters or whoever it may be to be able to rely on and talk to about all these things and realize we're all basically the same. We're all
We
different, but
are.
we're all the
Yep.
same in a lot of
Yep.
ways.
A mama's heart is a mama's heart. I mean, it just,
Yep.
it just doesn't matter.
You've told us a lot of personal stories of your own, but is there a personal story you can share of a time you felt less than perfect in your parenting journey, but then everything turned out okay? Do you have a
Ooh,
specific story?
how much time do you have? I remember this one time, it was my day to do carpooling, and I was picking up my kids and one of my kids' friends. And I forgot the kid at school. And I picked up mine, and I've got these systems in place. I got the next thing we need to do, and I'm herding everybody in the car, and we're going on our way. And this was the time before. This was before it was really popular for kids to have cell phones. Adults, some adults had them. Thank goodness this girl had a cell phone. And so we're halfway home, and she calls, and so I answer, and I'm like, "Hey, sweetie," and then Dom's like, "Oh my God, I left you at school." And so I turned around and I went back and got her. And I just thought, how am I going to, I know she's going to tell her mother. So I've got to say something, right? I know she's going to go home and say, "Miss Porter forgot me." And so, I get up the nerve and I call her mom and I go, "Look, everything's fine, but I left your kid. Like I forgot, I just forgot. I just forgot." And I tell you what, she laughed and I was crying. Like I'm on the phone crying because I didn't know how to tell her. And she thought it was the funniest thing. So by then, now I'm laughing. And like that became the running joke with these kids now. And they're like 30, like, "Miss Porter, remember that time you left me?" So, and it all worked out okay. And I was beating myself up like, "Oh my gosh, she could have gotten snatched and she could have, no, the teachers were like, it was 10 minutes tops.
She was all right.
She was fine. But I think, it's just an example of how we take a mistake and we run it as a narrative. And now that's how we view ourselves as parents, as women, as mothers. And, there comes a time and a place where we have to really learn the skill set of how to overcome parenting mistakes and how to be able to effectively not just apologize, age appropriately to the child, but really let ourselves off the hook and apologize to us and just say, "You know what? Phew, glad we made it through that day. Bigger and better things coming tomorrow." There's just, it's really a life skill to learn how to get over our mistakes so that they don't continue to hinder us and hold us back.
There's so many things I love about that story. One thing that really stuck out to me was that how the mom responded to you, how she laughed. I think that's a good example of us having grace for other mothers as well. Like we're all protective of our children, but you can relax a little bit. You understand that other moms aren't perfect and make mistakes, and she was probably your friend, but I just love that she just laughed. She's like, "My kid's okay. It's all going to work out." And
it was amazing. And, the thing that she said to me, she was a working mom. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. And she said, "Look, you have been so helpful to me. Like, don't ever, like, what you're doing, I can't get off." Like she'd be stuck there for hours if I had to come get her. So she was like, she had to wait 10 extra minutes. So she probably didn't even notice that you until all the other kids started leaving. So, and it just speaks to, us being willing to be vulnerable with one another. I was so tempted to not say anything. I was just so tempted to say, "I'm just going to act like this didn't happen." But her daughter was a chatter, and I knew she's going to tell her mama. So I got to say something. I'm going to have to say something. But it was just an example, man. I walked away from that and I hung up the phone thinking, "Okay, girl, you got to take it down a notch. Like you're really stressing yourself out over stuff that really is just the normal busyness of life. Stuff just happens. And sometimes it's nobody's fault. Sometimes life is hard. Sometimes stuff just happens. And we've got to really be able to move beyond the parenting mistakes and the mom guilt and really step into what's new and what's next."
Final question for you, Deborah, is if you could pick one takeaway for the moms from all of this, what would it be?
Who I thought you would say if you could pick one kid. I was going to say no, I can't.
If you could pick one favorite child,
One
who would
favorite kid. Who is?
And then I'm going to send this to every single one of your kids. See what they say.
Here's what your mom said. If I had to pick one takeaway, I would say grace yourself. Treat yourself like you would the best friend that's having a bad day. What would you say to her? How would you support her? How would you love on her and remind her of all the amazing things that she's done and all the great stuff she's shown up for? Treat yourself that same way. And, I had someone once tell me to write myself a letter, but this letter has to only include the great things that you've done. And here's what was really sad. It took me a long time just to think, because we always have the bad thing front of brain, that it really took me some time. I'm like, have I done anything? And that's how we treat ourselves, but we don't treat our girlfriends like that. Mm-hmm. So treat yourself like your best girlfriend, your closest sister, whatever the relationship. You are as deserving of that love, that affirmation, and that forgiveness as she is.
That's so perfect. This is Deborah Porter, mom, coach, and mentor. Deborah, you are a beautiful person inside and out with phenomenal advice. Thank you so much for taking the time with us today.
Thank you for having me. This was fantastic.